he takes a deal, he's selling everybody out. And if he doesn't have the balls to stand up and finish the job that he's undertook, that he self-appointed himself for, then he should have stood aside. Hi, Jane Scharf here from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I wanted to talk to you today about some new rumblings regarding the Pat King situation. Rebecca Shepherd's going to join us in a moment here. Just a second, I'll let her know. Oh, so I'm back. Pat King is still incarcerated at OCDC, the jail in Ottawa, following his charges for the Truckers' Convoy 2022. So that's, I think, a total of 100 days. So 3 months, over 3 months. And a friend of mine, Dave Freedom, tried it, and we also, Rebecca and I also tried to assist him to get out. Initially, he was going to accept that assistance, and here comes Rebecca. Initially, he was going to accept that assistance. He told us he would accept that assistance, and the next thing you know, his girlfriend was telling us that his lawyer was looking at a resolution, which is a deal, like some kind of plea bargain. That wasn't confirmed. I mean, that was just from a text from his girlfriend, so she might have got it wrong, but he did definitely not want any more assistance. He was going to work with his lawyer because she had something going on. So we're not clear. It was just like, I see Rebecca watching here. Oh, wait, there we go. There. So anyways, but he's still in there. And now there's been a new development. Dave Freedom has filed a habeas corpus to get him out. And what a habeas corpus is a really cool piece of legislation that's very old. It was developed when we had kings and tyrants and whatever. And the idea was people decided at one point that they didn't want any arbitrary detentions or arrests. So habeas corpus is a process whereby anyone who is concerned that someone is in jail improperly or illegally can make a motion to the court to get an order to have that person brought to the court and have the state confirm that the incarceration is legitimate. And in the case of Pat King, we don't think it's legitimate. His charges are not legitimate because the Emergency Act was not invoked legally, and the whole thing was a matter of fact of being arrested in a peaceful protest. So that's not going to be able to be justified. So we didn't hear anything from him, hardly at all, from the whole time. And then now all of a sudden, since Dave put his habeas corpus in, now there's a big push on the internet. I saw a video just a few minutes ago by Dave from the Shed with a big violin about Pat King, and we have to help him. And all.
Can you hear me, Jane?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm almost done. I'm just sort of prefacing it.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you could see me or
yeah,
hear me.
Yeah, I can see and hear you. And then anyways, he says that the issue is that Pat is being pressured to take a gag order to get out. Well, that's ridiculous. They don't put gag orders on deals. Like if they're going to let him out, there's no gag order. Gag orders are on civil settlements. You don't put gag orders on or even on bail. You don't put a gag order on bail either. Like a blanket, you can't talk about your case. However, there is a publication ban on Pat King. And Pat King initiated that already. That was done like a long time ago, like months ago, like 2-3 months ago. So what are they even talking about? So my guess is that he's making a deal, and they're trying to distract people into thinking that what his interaction has to do with gag order. So I expect to see him pop out with a deal, but brag it up that he didn't agree to a gag order. But don't be fooled by the distraction. If he takes a deal, He's selling everybody out. And if he doesn't have the balls to stand up and finish the job that he's undertook, that he self-appointed himself for, then he should have stood aside and let somebody else do it. I've gone to jail and stood my ground and succeeded in the end. So anybody that's going to stand up like that needs to be able to carry the ball through. No deals. And he could have accepted assistance also to help to get out, but he refused. So for anybody that wants to get involved, just keep in mind that you want to pay attention to whether he got a deal or not when he made a deal. If he said guilty, time served, whatever, instead of pushing for his legally entitlement for bail. He has entitlement. He's being denied legally. He's not getting reasonable bail.
Yep.
So we gotta watch, keep the eye on the pie there. These are our rights. And actually, just one more point. Skelly's case, they put an order on him, bail order, that he couldn't go on the internet when he got out. And that was brought back to court, and the judge ruled that it was unconstitutional for them to restrict his freedom of speech by going on the internet. So obviously they don't have the right to put any general gag order on Pat King when he gets out. So that's some kind of red herring, like a distraction from what's actually going on. But watch what's going on. Okay, Rebecca.
What would they want to? What would be the gag? Yeah, what would there be a gag order for? What? Don't tell people you were charged with mischief when everybody already knows. Don't tell them what you were doing when everybody already knows. And I'm going to tell you something. We've already flagged Dave from the Shed, and I don't care who doesn't like it. Dave from the Shed during the biker convoy was one of the people telling people, don't say you're protesting, give up all your rights, just pretend that you're out there going for a walk even though you're carrying a sign that says fuck Trudeau or whatever it is that your sign says. So I don't trust that guy, and it is very suspicious that as soon as Dave filed that writ of habeas corpus, all of a sudden, first of all, why are people giving Pat King money again? How much
for
money
what? If he's
are they
getting out,
giving?
what the hell does he need money for if he's getting out?
And he paid his lawyer.
Yeah.
He said he paid his lawyer.
Yeah.
So what the heck is this money for? And again, you're going back to the publication ban. Let's clarify that who asked for when you're in a court of law and there's a court proceeding, who's the person that asked for the publication ban?
It's the defendant that has a right to place a publication ban because it's supposed to be protecting from jury tampering. That's what the concept is. So you have a right. When you ask for it, the court has no choice but to put it on. So that's what happened there. Pat asked for it. He admitted he asked for it because Pat, he said the lawyer.
Yes, I was going to say, Pat told us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was not good for Pat.
No.
It was not good for Pat. It didn't help Pat because everybody went quiet because it wasn't, there are so many things to worry about in this world. The last thing that you're going to be thinking about is Mr. Pat King, right? When there's all this other shit going on, and everybody in Pat King's camp was silent. Yeah. Everybody was silent.
Yeah.
And then as soon as something comes along that could potentially get him out,
yeah.
First of all, and if he did take a deal, it would fuck up his deal. And you know what, guys? If Pat King takes a deal, it's going to validate that the convoy was illegal. And If he takes a deal, or if George takes a deal, he's fucking everybody.
George already took a deal, apparently. Pat even admitted that George took a deal. Now, I think about the gag order, too, which is stupid. The state would want him to talk about the fact that he pleaded guilty and they gave him whatever, time served or whatever the deal was. They'd want that because they want people in general, like the public in general, to have the notion that these truckers were doing something illegal. And then you'd say, oh, well, there you go. Mm-hmm, one of the truckers actually admitting that he did something illegal. You see, that's the way that works. So gag order, what the hell? Like, that's just pulled out of their ass as a distraction from the fact that he's in progress of taking a deal. Now, hopefully we've caused enough stir that they might just let him out with no deal. They might. Because the thing is, if he's still in there, Dave's going to be getting his date for the hearing tomorrow, and when he gets the date, like I say, they have no choice but to bring Pat into the court. And once they bring Pat into the court, they would have to reveal that they've made a deal. So they might want to get him out before, and not upset that apple cart. We lost Rebecca. Hopefully she asked to come back in. So I'm seeing if there's any questions. And I don't see any questions. Yeah, something's fishy. Yeah, he does have thousands of followers, but he's been quiet pretty much the whole time he was in there. We made some noise with our protests outside OCDC, and then we made some more noise when we were contacting Pat to see if we could assist him, facilitate him to get out on bail. So that's pretty much the only banter that there's been. That's why we're thinking, oh, wait a minute, no, I'm still looking for Rebecca to come back in. So we're still looking to see why all of a sudden this Dave from the Shed and some other people called me today too, and other people have been messaging me on Messenger and Facebook, well, Facebook Messenger and email, asking what's going on with Pat, and people are wanting to organize and get involved now. So all of a sudden, as soon as Dave filed, I believe he filed either Friday or Monday, and he's supposed to get a date tomorrow. So, and it shouldn't be long. Like, they're not supposed to delay with those, because they're supposed to take them very serious. Habeas corpus is a very serious right that we have. It hasn't been used much in Canada because, for the most part, the government has not arbitrarily detained people. They have done it. I'm not saying that, but it's not a rampant thing, and it's not something that required people to use habeas corpus for. But it is a very important right, and it's a well-structured right. Anybody can do it. Pat doesn't have to agree. So that's, I think, what's got their feathers rustled, because he can't refuse. It's a request by anybody. So Dave Freedom is not a lawyer. It's not a paralegal. He's making the request. But it says in the habeas corpus, anybody, doesn't have to be a lawyer. Anybody can make an application to the court to produce the body into court. And the very reason why it's not necessary to get consent from the person who's in jail is because they may not be able to get it. There may be intimidation going on there and so on. So there's no requirement for Pat to consent. So if that goes in front of a judge, the judge will order that he be brought into court. So you'll see the discussion of bail. And if they're trying to settle, that's going to be awkward. So anyways, that's about it. If there's any questions, I can look in the comments to see. I don't see questions. I just see people commenting. No questions. No. Okay, I'll give you a minute there if you have a question to pop in. No. Rebecca, it says Rebecca needs in, but I don't know. Oh, here. There you go. I didn't know you were trying to get back in. It didn't show
there.
Me. Yeah.
I kept hitting request, and it ignored me.
Oh, I didn't see. Usually it pops up.
A protest help Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm done.
So, a protest is not going to help Pat. I think you missed the first part of the conversation, is that it seems like Pat's got a trick up his sleeve, because we reached out to help him, and Jane has been successful in getting people out on bail.
Dave pretty much.
And Dave Freedom.
He's the one that got the two out. two of them out. I didn't.
Yes.
I assisted. I gave
Yeah.
some information.
Yeah, Jordan and
Norm.
Steve, was it Steve?
Norm.
Who's the other guy?
Norm.
Steve?
Norm.
Norm.
The other one was Norm.
No,
Yeah. Norm.
Norm.
Now,
Okay.
also,
So,
I think our protests helped
yes.
to get Tamara and Steve out, because Tamara's bail hearing, they said they're not letting her out on twosery grounds, which means that if they let her out, that would give a signal to the public that would make them lose confidence in the justice system, and then all of a sudden, boom, they let her out. Like, we had a protest Saturday, Monday they let her out. So I think it was related.
Yes.
They were going to leave her in ongoing.
Yeah, and so we contacted Pat because the thing is, like, the longer Pat stays in there, the worse it is for everyone because it's a rights violation. So we reached out to Pat. I spoke with Pat. Jane spoke with Pat. Dave Freedom spoke with Pat. We all spoke with Pat. We came up with a game plan because his lawyers are not helping him. This is his third lawyer. And his lawyer basically said, "Oh, I'm really busy and I can't deal with your case because I have a murder trial or some shit coming up. So I can't help you next week."
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? Like, no, this is not acceptable. So we were at the OCDC, and I buzzed the buzzer and I said, "I'd like to see Pat King, please."
Yeah.
And I don't know why we didn't think of this earlier. And they said, "No, you have to be on his list, blah, blah, blah." So I left a message. Pat called me, and then we initiated Operation Get Pat Out. And Pat declined. Not only did he...
Initially he accepted. And
well, I was going to get into the details, yeah.
The plan was for Dave was going to help facilitate his sureties. He had 2 sureties lined up, and evidently the court had already decided that they could allow him out with surety, but the first surety that he tried failed. So he had 2 more, and they were good sureties. So Dave was willing to tell him where to go and where to get help and all that kind of stuff, and he agreed to it because he would have had to self-represent in order for that to happen, right? Because the lawyer being in the case would have interfered, and he agreed, and his girlfriend called the lawyer to get that in place, and the next thing you know, the girlfriend called and said, no, Pat doesn't want to do that now because his lawyer has something in the works now, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah, the lawyer suddenly jumped to action.
Exactly. So I said I was by text, and I said to her, is Pat taking a deal? Rebecca saw a video up this afternoon that said Pat was taking a deal, and she goes, "What video? What deal?" And I said, "Oh, well, if you haven't heard of a deal, it must not be true then. Good." And she said, "No, I haven't heard of a deal. I just heard that they're discussing a resolution." And a resolution is a deal. There's no other thing. So there's confirmation right there that they were discussing a deal. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know the lawyers off the top of my head, Ava. It's in the notes that we have.
First name is Natasha. First name is Natasha. I don't know her last name.
Yeah, that's the last lawyer, but he had 2 lawyers before that, and I don't remember the name.
What is it? The JCF or whatever it is. The Justice.
Oh, the JCCF.
Yeah.
Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms.
Yeah, and he wasn't happy with them for some reason. I don't know. And
of course
his
not.
last lawyer, they were complaining, wasn't calling him back. All of a sudden, when we pop our head in there, boom, he calls it back and is right on it. So I don't know what she's on. But apparently,
and now
Pat confirmed that George took a deal to get out on the 16th of June. So he didn't need any assistance. George is fine, and the facility that he's in is fine, and everything's good. So in other words, look at me, help me. Okay, so. So
I'm gonna plead guilty to get a deal and fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Freedom, George, eh?
If he doesn't do it, if Pat doesn't do it, good, kudos to him. But if he does. Yeah. I'm going to be very loud. And that was another thing, too. He didn't like me telling that, what I just told you. He called me up screaming at me. Pat did.
Oh, yeah.
Because I made a video saying that the girlfriend said it's a resolution. So I said, it appears that he is. I couldn't say for sure because I don't have inside, I don't hear them and whatever, but it appears as though he's taking a deal and he's, you shut your mouth or something's going to happen to you in 2 days, blah, blah, blah. That didn't even rattle me. I was like, whatever. I don't shut my mouth for anything.
Yeah, so it just, we got to put the pieces of the puzzle together here. And, the fact things are just are lining up to the fact that there's been deals made. And these deals, again, if it didn't impact other people, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't give a shit.
And
but
if
it
he
does
didn't
impact
pop
other
himself
people.
up as a leader, like he wasn't appointed, nobody drew him and said, Pat, come and be our leader. We vote. He just popped up and put his face on the whole process, started collecting money, and identified as one of the leaders. So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So it remains, as Jane mentioned, Dave has put forward the habeas corpus. I think it was on Monday, and then tomorrow he's like, I'm going to spend all day on the phone until I can get some answers, because this should be immediate.
Have a date. You should have a date right away. That's not something they can wait. They need to put that on their urgent motion list.
Yes. So it does seem suspicious, number one, that all of a sudden Pat King's back into the forefront after somebody actually puts forward a solution to get the guy out.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
And it's all free. Dave doesn't charge anything, and there's nothing for filing. When you file in criminal code, there's no charges, so it didn't even cost him any money to file that.
Yeah, well, he's free Pat King. Pat King doesn't want to free himself, so we think he's taking a deal, Lacey. So that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
I know Jane can't stay on much longer, but this is why we're here, because this is just not. Things are not adding up. And Dave Freedom has put forward a habeas corpus to get Pat out, and now all of a sudden the attention's back on Pat King. This idea that there's a gag order and he's resisting the gag order. Why would there be a gag order for Pat King? What would he possibly say that could disrupt anything?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. It doesn't even make sense.
Like, he's already got a publication ban that he initiated. So what the hell? Why would they even need a publication?
Yeah.
A gag?
Yeah, exactly. They already have one. Yeah. And that was at that would have been at his request.
Yeah.
And he admitted that. And that was from pressure from his lawyers.
Yeah.
And his lawyers did him no favors by doing that, because everyone went quiet because they forgot about Pat King.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend thought that it was a good thing to do, and it wasn't a good thing to do. And we discussed that with him. Like, that wasn't a good thing to do.
No.
And we even suggested lifting it so that people could hear that Pat King was in jail. We literally were trying to help him, guys, because here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. When we help folks like Pat King, we help all of us, because it's a rights violation.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And we still have our right to reasonable bail, which is being denied in this place. And thankfully, we have the right to habeas corpus, which is right in the Bill of Rights. It states right in there. You have a right.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So I guess it remains to be seen what happens. Yeah, let's see tomorrow what happens with the habeas corpus.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will go through, and then
that'll be public also. That'll be a public hearing, because the publication ban is on his bail hearing. So they're not going to be discussing his charges or anything for the habeas corpus. It's going to be the bail conditions, like why is he in there? They have to justify, and they're not going to be able to, because he doesn't have a criminal record, and he's not a flight risk. You have to have a history where you've gone out on bail and reoffended when you're out on bail. That's one reason why they'll deny bail, or they let you out on bail and you didn't show up in court. Those are the two reasons. And the third reason is the tertiary one, which they backed off of that one. They put that on Tamara and backed off of that one. And I don't think that one applied to Pat anyway, because they were trying to let him out on a surety. So when you have that tertiary one, it's the bail denied, and there's no sureties, there's no nothing. So I don't even think that one's there. So there would only be primary and secondary possible cause, but they've allowed, well, those, like, I don't think they have denied bail anyway, but those are the three reasons, is primary, secondary, and tertiary. And I don't think any of those apply. So why is he in there? You know what I mean? They're going to have, because his lawyers dragging her feet on getting a new, better surety in place. So
or too busy for a big important case, can't talk to Pat.
Yeah.
And then, like, why would you keep a lawyer that does that? Like, I can't even deal with this nonsense. Anyway.
Great interest to her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, is there any questions from the viewers? Do you see any there? I'm looking, but I don't see questions.
Nope.
No.
Just comments.
Just comments. Okay. So I guess we can end off. Is there any last things you want to say?
No, I think we covered it all.
Okay. So hashtag we got this.
We got this.
Yeah, and watch
what's
going on with Pat King, and don't be fooled. Don't be tricked and distracted. Okay.
No, and keep your money in your pockets.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep your money in your pockets.
Yeah. Habeas corpus.
Stop giving the guy.
Habeas corpus is free, and Dave Freedom is free, so he doesn't need any crowdfunding.
Yeah.